All right, well, I'm out of a job. I guess I'm not mixing records anymore because now there's plugins that just do it automatically. Thanks a lot, Sound Theory, Gullfoss. This week's plugin of the week, Gullfoss by Sound Theory. I'm going to show you exactly why it's going to take your job away as a mixing engineer, but not so fast because we still got to operate this thing and know how to use it. And I'm going to show you exactly how to use it, why it's $300 to get this thing with only 2 licenses, and why it's catching on like crazy in the mastering world. Here it goes, plugin of the week. Let's get into it. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. All right, Sound Theory, Gullfoss. This is a really, really cool plugin. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to show you exactly how I use it, where I put it in my chain, on a singer-songwriter vibe, actually, from Chris Cohen, something I'm producing, mixing, mastering with him. He's a really cool artist out of Eugene, Oregon. And let's dive into the session, huh? All right. So here we are. I'm going to play you a little bit of the song, going into the chorus so you can hear what the vibe is.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? The fire.
Well, that just turned into a big conglomerate of but beautiful song, beautiful singing, songwriting, guitar playing. And I'm going to show you exactly what I got going on with Gullfoss on the master bus. And this is typically where I use it. I use it right on the master bus. It is a intelligent EQ. It's a look ahead. So it basically looks ahead of at the program material, and it's sort of like a dynamic EQ and an exciter. So it's really, really interesting. I wouldn't say exciter like in the common term of what an exciter is. It's more just like, you know, getting rid of peaky stuff and boosting up stuff that's missing. Okay, that's like the overall thing. But let's get into exactly what it does and what all these little things do up front. So the first thing you'll notice when you see the GUI is that it's kind of awkward, right? You see this shaped like curve going on that's doesn't make sense. You can't click on it. You can't pull an EQ down. You can't move it. Don't worry. It's too intelligent. Doesn't want your dumbass grabbing it and trying to, you know, manipulate the EQ. It's like, yo, I got you. All right. It's like a robot. It's basically AI technology. It's from the future. All right, so we just look at this interface, but the top stuff is what matters right here, this stuff on the top. Okay, so recover, tame, bias, brighten, and boost. Okay, I'm just gonna zero out all this stuff. So I'm just option clicking to zero it out. And now you can see there's no curve, there's no anything going on, it's flat. All right, and we're at 0 dB here on the side. You can bypass it, you can unbypass it. You can see this right here is the most important thing that you're going to read out. And then you have some left-right stuff here, okay? So let's start with recover and tame. These actually work together. If you don't know Gullfoss and you've been using it, you're probably using it wrong if you don't use these together, because that's what they're meant to do. All right, so the first thing I do is I tame and then I recover. What tame does is it's basically going to listen to the program information, and it's going to hear things that are peaking, right? Like you know, maybe it's 300 hertz, and then there's also a 600 hertz spike, and then there's a 2K and a 4K spike and all this stuff, right? So that it's gonna dynamically EQ or like compress, right? Multiband compress out those frequencies. So let's hear it on the mix and hear as I pull it up to tame what it's doing.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? The fire.
So automatically you'll notice like separation, right? Which is what this plugin is amazing at. All right, now I'm going to bring up recover, and what we're trying to do here is on the left, you're seeing the negative dB and you're seeing the positive dB. As I tame, you're reading the negative, and as I recover, you're going to be reading the positive. They actually recommend, the manufacturer, Sound Theory recommends that you start with trying to get those both to be kind of even, right? So if you're taming 4 dB, then you should be recovering 4 dB. All right, makes sense, right? You're basically, here's your flat EQ, right? And you're getting rid of the peaks, and then you're boosting up the stuff that's missing. So you're getting more of a flat signal is the idea. Okay, so let's listen to this recover as we bring this up.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? If I make a wish on you, would you come true?
All right, so you can hear it starts to bring up some of that low end energy. Now, even as it's just sitting here, you can see that it's waiting and the curve is starting to be kind of a smiley face curve. So that's the powerful part, and that's typically if your mix is really good, your master is good. I guess this is a mastering tool as far as I'm concerned, but you could put it on buses, drum buses, synth buses, string buses, horn buses, whatever. It's up to you. Whatever you need separation on and you need to hear the instruments more clearly. But typically I'm in like the 30 percentile. If my mix is good, I'm like 25 to 35% on both tame and recover. If I'm getting into 40, 50, 60, I know I need to go revisit my mix and just kind of, you know, go in and maybe clear out some more clutter in the mix, right? Do some more individual treatment, bus treatment, etc. But this, you know, people like use this as a shortcut. They're like, oh, this is the cheat code. Put Gullfoss on it. And it'll just, you know, but it's like, dude, your stuff still sounds like shit. Like you just have Gullfoss on it, like helping it out a little bit, right? But you'll notice like it basically takes the blanket off of everything. And then bias. Bias is basically saying, okay, we've tamed, we've recovered, right? So now we're like more of like a, you know, we don't have all these crazy peaks and we don't have these like valleys. We're more like that, right? So as we bias, we're going to bring everything up or we're going to bring everything down. Okay. So that's what bias is for this plugin. So as you notice, I bring the bias up, you'll notice the curve coming up. And when I bring it down, you'll notice it going down. So that's like if you wanted to kind of bring everything down and under bias, or if you wanted to bring everything up and over bias a little bit. All right. So let's hear that in action.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? If I make a wish on you, would you come true?
Okay, so that's really, really subtle, but it's also kind of shifting the sound a little bit, which I don't typically use bias on this plugin because, first of all, I really can barely hear what it's doing. But when I do use it, I find that my transients get kind of smeared, which I don't really like. I like my transients. Transients to me as a mixing engineer are life, right? Like I want transients. All right, so that's the bias. And then the Brighten is really cool because you can sort of, if you've done the tame and recover and you need more brightness, you can bring in a little bit more. But sometimes the tame will bring in too much brightness, right? And you want that warmth back. So you can kind of like bring it back down. So I'll show you this Brighten. And it's just a really great algorithm as well. Like the brightness on it, just incredible. Very musical.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? If I make a wish on you, would you
So Brighten for me, I sometimes will just bring it down a little bit. I don't usually brighten up because typically this plugin makes things a lot brighter. It's just the algorithm of it, like taming out frequencies. It usually will take out, what I've noticed, it'll usually take out the lower mids a lot more. And when you're taking out the low mids of something, typically you're going to hear a lot more of the brightness, right? So, and then as you recover, you're also kind of bringing in that smiley face. So for me, I typically will take the Brighten and bring it down like -2 to 5% after I've tamed and recovered. Just a little, some from what I do with it. Okay, so now we have Boost, and Boost is really cool because it's sort of it's a mastering technique that a lot of mastering engineers use. It's to bring up the high end and the low end, right? So make the smiley face curve. And I'm just like over dramatizing this stuff as I go so you guys can really hear what it's doing. But I'm going to play this and boost it up.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? If I make a wish on you, would you come true? And look, there's a shooting star. Is that what you are?
So that's it. Those are like all the functions of this thing. With Brighten and Bias, they actually work together as well, just like Recover and Tame work together. And that's what this this bottom graph is showing you right here. And just pay attention to this area right here as I do this.
There's a shooting star. Is that what you are? If I make a wish on you, would you come true?
Okay, so I don't know if that's actually true, what I told you, Bias and Brighten working together. But the Brighten, what it's showing you here at the bottom, this little thing going back and forth, is it's basically showing you like the Tame and Recover, when you did that, it got a little too bright. So maybe you need to bring the Brighten down. Or sometimes it'll do the opposite and you need to bring the Brighten up. And you're trying to get that meter to come into the middle, right? So if it is peaking a little bit this way, it should peak the same amount that way, okay? Really basic stuff, but something you should understand. Also, read the manual, right? Right? You'll learn a lot about that. But this is the plugin of the week. I wanted to show you guys this plugin. I use it a little differently than it's recommended. It's recommended that you put it at the end of your chain. I don't typically do that. I typically put it before my 2 stages of limiting here, okay? So, and the reason being, and dude, this is crazy, right? Like you see me limiting like crazy. It's because I'm producing this song right now and I'm just trying to get a vibe. Sometimes I throw on a mastering chain to get a vibe, right? But this is where it usually is in my chain, is like after compression and EQ and some excitement, saturation, distortion stuff. And then I put Gullfoss on to shape all that. And the reason being is because sometimes saturation plugins like the VCM3 and the Sony Oxford Inflator, they can sometimes, get really cloudy on the low mids. So then when I use the Gullfoss, it sort of cleans up those low mids and kind of, separates things again, which is really cool without losing the vibe of what I like from the saturation, which gives me the depth, the width, the height, the all this stuff that I'm getting out of saturation. And then Gullfoss kind of comes in and goes, hey, let me clean that up for you. And I'm like, thanks, Gullfoss, you're the man. Sound Theory, you guys made a great plugin. Appreciate it. It's $300. You get 2 licenses for this plugin. Very, very cool mastering plugin. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. You like it. If you do, actually click the like button. It helps us get more information to more people, drop a comment, question, whatever, ask me anything besides like, you know, anything personal, because I won't answer that. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all. Radium POW. POW out. Peace out. POW. Bang.